they got started in politics. Well, my dog got me started in politics. When I was 13 years old, my dog was with me at Cochran's Pharmacy, our little drugstore in Trinity, Texas. My dog died a hideous death right there on the floor of the drugstore. And the pharmacist, who was the nearest we had to a veterinarian, came out and pronounced that the dog had been poisoned with ground glass. I was 13. My grief was immense, as you can imagine. The dog was a year older than I was, so I'd never known life without him. I learned later that day, in my grief, that a neighbor of mine had been bragging that he had killed the dog because the dog had soiled his lawn. Well, as I say, I was 13. I didn't know how to cope with such tragedy. But just to get things started, I burned his lawn down that night. But on reflection, I determined that that was not nearly enough. I learned later that week that the guy that killed the dog, he was the only paid official in the little town. And he was running for re-election the following spring. And my mother was the nearest thing to a liberal that there was in Trinity, Texas, or probably in Trinity County. And she was very good friends with the African-American community. And so I asked her to please take me out and introduce me to the ministers. Now you've got to remember this was 1947. And it was pretty tough times. But I told the ministers that I would like to give everybody a ride to the post office, which was near the polls, to the post office, and they all kind of looked at me askance because ordinarily that kind of thing only took place with county judges and county sheriffs and wet dry elections. But anyway, they kind of cooperated with me, and I think they kind of liked me a little bit. And so early on election day, which this was only a city election, so there weren't many people voting. But we had our first car we ever had, and my mother and daddy let me borrow it for the whole day. And for the whole day, I took the African-American community of Trinity, Texas to the polls. Now, I told the ministers that I wasn't going to try to influence anybody voting. So when I let them out of the cars, I would say, we would visit on the way out there, and I would say, now, I don't want to try to influence how you vote, but I do want you to know that Charles Hazard poisoned my dog. And they knew what that meant. And one of them, I remember one big guy said, poison that boy's dog. And so I knew my message was getting across. And the long and the short of the story was I took 96 people to vote that way. 96. And I was at the city hall where they had the chalkboard to mark down the results of the election. And I beat that old son of a bitch by 16 votes. And that's the day I fell in love with America, and I fell in love with politics.